Policing the police. Tonight, an all-new I-Team investigation takes a closer look at who's keeping watch over those who protect and serve. It all started when Richmond County deputies implied they did not have a warrant.
Do you have a warrant to come here? Yes or no?
We're gonna apply for one.
But barged in anyway, with a gun drawn.
Whoa, she do not have a search warrant.
In a moment like that, police have all the power. So what are your rights when you think your rights have been violated?
Because they can do whatever they want to do to me. But I don't got no rights. Those rights do not apply to me. Do they apply to me?
It's a question still echoing throughout the country after the deaths of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor. And it's not just during tense moments with law enforcement. Since George Floyd's death in 2020, lawmakers across the country have considered more than 4,500 bills related to policing. Just in the last year, these 16 states have passed specific laws about police oversight. But a lot of this attention is on the front end. But what about the back end? When our I-Team's Meredith Anderson looked into a complaint about Richmond County deputies, she found what some might call a major conflict of interest.
That's because if you have a complaint about the Richmond County Sheriff's Office, you take that complaint to the Richmond County Sheriff's Office, where the Richmond County Sheriff's Office then investigates itself.
As soon as she put her foot in that door, that's when I began recording.
Keyshawn Young then started narrating.
And I told her she do not have no paperwork. She don't have no warrant.
And asking Richmond County deputies questions she says she's always been taught to ask.
4 o'clock in the morning. Do you have a warrant to come here, ma'am? Do you have a warrant to come here? Yes or no?
We're gonna apply for one.
Let's listen to that again.
To come here. Yes or no?
We're gonna apply for one.
That response was enough for Keyshawn to believe deputies did, in fact, need a warrant that night. With both sides clearly frustrated, Keyshawn decided it was safest to wait until deputies had that piece of paper, so she didn't open the door. Deputies then opened it for her.
You cannot go through. Do you have a search warrant?
You want me to go?
You cannot go through here.
I just want Jasmine. That's all I want.
Okay, but she cannot serve. You know she cannot do that. Whoa. Jazz, whoa, 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 whoa.
Deputies had a gun pointed at Keyshawn's son.
If I'd have been walking down my hallway a little faster, I would have been shot in cold blood in front of my son peeking out that door.
Lindell Wilson Jr. says that's why he sat down in the hallway. He didn't want deputies to go in his son's room.
He's 4, and it was his birthday.
You can see the balloons in the corner of the house. Keyshawn kept recording, even as she says deputies knocked her to the ground.
Like, you're not gonna take this phone out of my hand. You're not gonna do that. And then when they got me down on the ground, she said, sit on her, and I looked at her and I said, "What you gonna George Floyd me now?"
Meanwhile, she's worried about her adult son, who at the time she thinks is being arrested.
Why did you have to drag me out of my house without no shoes on, no shirt, and take me downtown?
They put you in the back of the car?
They did, with handcuffs on.
Like a criminal?
Like I've committed a crime. Like I have committed a crime.
Only Lindell hasn't committed a crime. According to the incident report, he's actually the victim in this case. That's right, he's the victim. So why did Richmond County deputies barge into his house in the middle of the night and take him away in handcuffs? That's a good question. It's one we wanted to ask Richmond County Sheriff Richard Roundtree, but he's refusing to sit down with the I-Team for an interview. The sheriff's office is also refusing to answer any questions about this cell phone video or this case, citing an open investigation. So documents will have to speak for them. According to this incident report, deputies thought Lindell Wilson might be responsible for a stabbing.
They doing to my son in there.
With this kind of response, you might think it was a murder or that Lindell had a lengthy arrest record. But neither are the case. The report shows the stab wound only required 3 stitches. And the I-Team checked. Lindell has no arrest record in Richmond County. What we did find? An arrest record for the man who was stabbed, who ended up being the suspect in this case, even though he's the one who pointed the finger at Lindell. The report notes he wasn't very cooperative. No one was, really, yet the report says deputies were told Lindale had been violent with his fiancée. It does note they saw what appeared to be blood outside Lindale and Jasmine's home, so deputies knocked on the door. You can hear deputies ask about Jasmine in the confusion.
They just woke us up out our sleep.
Okay, well, there was a stabbing over here earlier.
It wasn't no stabbing over here.
All right, like, Jasmine, can you come out?
Jazz, you want to go out that door? Why is you got your feet in the door, ma'am? Could you tell me?
It's for our safety.
No,
okay?
how?
Y'all
Y'all nothing. Y'all just woke us up.
Want me to go through?
Jasmine tells the I-Team she had been drinking, wasn't fully dressed, but came to the door multiple times.
I came right back after I put some clothes on and told them again that I was okay.
But in the weeks and now months since this has happened, Jasmine is not okay, and neither is her family.
Scared to go outside, depressed. You know, I'm scared to drive to work. You know, I'm scared of the police on the road. I'm just afraid, you know. I don't know what to do. You know, I got to get counseling.
On December 6th, Jasmine Leverett filed an official complaint with the Richmond County Sheriff's Office, repeating a lot of the same concerns we just showed you on the cell phone video, like deputies not producing a warrant when asked and forcing entry. The family shared this letter with the I-Team, showing Jasmine's complaint was unfounded. It reads, in part, after a thorough review, all of the above RCSO employees' actions did not violate policy or law. It's dated December 7th, just one day after Jasmine filed her complaint. It took the sheriff's office one day to investigate itself and decide its own employees did nothing wrong. Deputies say they reviewed body camera, but the family says they were never questioned.
What were your first thoughts when you watched this video?
Oh, I was appalled.
Manuel Gomez is a private investigator in New York, now working with the family.
I got a better chance of winning lotto than them getting a warrant at 4 o'clock in the morning.
He's helping the family reach out to the ACLU and the NAACP.
These people have nowhere to turn. They have to go to the same police department that violated them to check themselves. That's insanity.
And one that's not even transparent about complaints. The I-Team sent an open records request to the Richmond County Sheriff's Office for all complaints about the deputies involved in this incident. We did not receive a copy of this complaint from this incident as part of our request. But we did receive copies of 2 complaints against Sergeant Megan Inman, the deputy at the door and the one who pointed her gun at Lindale. Both were unsustained. One accused her of racial profiling and the other called her rude. The sheriff's office cleared her of any wrongdoing in both.
They have to check themselves, monitor themselves, investigate themselves, and judge themselves. That's impossible.
And it can create distrust in the community. That's why some places like Atlanta and most recently Athens-Clarke County have independent boards with the power to actually investigate. According to the National Association for Civilian Oversight of Law Enforcement, civilian oversight boards need more access to records law enforcement agencies withhold from the public. The nonprofit says state and local lawmakers can and should pass laws permitting localities to establish civilian oversight bodies with subpoena power. Right now, more than 160 communities have a law allowing for law enforcement oversight. Since George Floyd's death, an additional 80 cities have reached out to the nonprofit about bringing oversight to their community. As for our community, according to its own website, the Richmond County Sheriff's Office is the largest full-service sheriff's office in Georgia.
The Richmond County is a poster child for a citizen review board.
At the very least, citizen oversight might help restore some of the trust lost the night Keyshawn Young answered the door.
Because they can do whatever they want to do to me. But I don't got no rights. Those rights do not apply to me. Do they apply to me?
He searched the home multiple times and found nothing. Again, no one was arrested, and the family says no one ever apologized to them.
But they did mention in the video there were 2 sides to that door. The deputies said they were doing that for their safety.
Right. And you never know what's going to be waiting on the other side of the door when deputies do that knock. Experts say independent oversight That can also protect law enforcement. A recent study found communities with civilian review boards, the ones with the broad authority we were talking about, have seen a reduction in violent crime, as well as the number of officers killed. So this is an option protecting people perhaps on both sides of that door.
It seems like a lot of people are starting to pick that up, and it seems to be working in some places.
Could perhaps work here.
All right, thanks for that, Meredith.